You can have a great idea and
Yep.
you can have passion, but without a plan,
Hmm. Hmm.
your content is just going to sound like you're rambling instead of
Exactly.
actually being a resource that someone can use to grow
Yes.
and be
In
better.
this content creation era, people have very short attention spans. Let's just call it what it
But it's
is.
so easy
Yeah.
to sit back and watch someone else's content and go, what?
Hmm.
Why? This is not this is not interesting. This isn't
Hmm.
they're not expounding on anything. They're not what they just shared was useless.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. And
Start
there's
your own
nothing worse than
project.
that. Yeah.
Start your own experience. Start your
Yeah.
own journey.
Hmm.
And pay attention. That is something to pay attention, especially if it's easy for you to see it in someone else.
Yeah. Yes.
Hopefully, it's that easy for you to see in yourself.
Using the topic to like tighten up that focus, I just really feel like it makes for better conversations, but it makes for more efficient conversation because that's the
Yes.
thing. Like when we get into this whole thing of content creation, we have to be mindful of the fact that we have people who are watching what we do and they're taking time out of their busy day to actually consume it.
You can have a great idea and
Yep.
you can have passion, but without a plan,
Hmm. Hmm.
your content is just going to sound like you're rambling instead of
Exactly.
actually being a resource that someone can use to grow
Yes.
and be better.
Yes. Yes.
Just like a GPS, your content, it needs a specific structure to it.
Yes.
It
Yes.
needs a specific. So we're going to start with that one. And that first thing you need is a destination.
Mhm.
But for
Mhm.
us, with the content, we're talking about the target.
Yes.
What is the goal of what you're hitting? So, Joe, I just want to ask you, just coming from your perspective, your vast amount of experience on all different types of media platforms,
Yeah.
have you ever felt like your content, whether it be an episode, whether it be a radio segment, whether it be your blog or the newspaper articles that you would do, have you tried to do too much and
Yes.
end up really doing very little?
Yes. Yes. Many a times. Now, granted, I am very much a planner. I can wing things, and in this business, you will always have to wing something. Nothing will ever go completely according to plan. But at the same time, like not really having a set out plan as much in advance, I have found certain episodes of certain shows have gone a little bit off the rails because I didn't rein it in or I left it too open ended without saying, okay, this is the focus of what we're trying to do with this particular episode. This is what we're trying to accomplish. I'll give you an example. This was on a Balancing Act radio show, and it was a Black Music Month forum. So I had these different people on the show knowing I wanted to talk about Black music from these different vantage points. That was my target. That the topic was Black Music Month, but the focus was we're not a monolith as Black people, as Black creators, as Black musicians, as Black artists. Having that goal allowed me to stay on brand or on target for that entire conversation. Versus sometimes when you have a lot of people who want to talk about the same thing, but there's no real direction. And so in those situations, I found that the conversation went on and went on and went on. It's like, all right, if we would have had more of a direction with what we were trying to do, then I feel like we would have been able to really affect our community better. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of times there was nothing worse than for somebody to tell me that a show that I was a part of was all over the place in an episode. I hate that. Honestly, with a passion, I hate that. Because it's like I'm very much like a plan it out type of person. with leaving room to do some freestyling or some impromptu here and there.
I like what you said. I like the pain points that you brought out because in what you shared, it just helps you to understand. Listen, if you don't specifically set the target, then you won't keep you and your listeners aligned in the same mission of, okay, this is what we're discussing and this is the goal we're reaching.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't clearly define why we're even on this ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gives when you do, it gives you a sense of payoff. It lets them know, listen, you're gonna get paid off for listening to this. You're not wasting your time. You're going to get great takeaways with this. You're going to be helped. There's going to be a measure of success because you've purposely invested this time and you've learned this information, and so you'll be able to apply it or know when it's happening in your life or be able to maneuver around it even better. If I did not set the topic in my episodes, it made it hard for me to even understand what we were talking about. So how
Mm-hmm.
I set the tone in my episodes, I met with my guests before
Yeah.
so that we would be aligned with what we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
what areas we were going to explore. But I like what you said about leaving room for even more to happen,
Yeah.
leaving
Yeah.
room for those surprise moments
Mm-hmm.
that no one knew was going to take place. Because I'd meet with people and I've literally had an episode where in the content, after I introduced the person, that first question that came off, she went so far off left of anything we were doing.
Yeah.
But because I did make that plan, I knew how to then take that plan, or I
Mm-hmm.
knew our target, our ending. I knew where we wanted to land.
Yeah.
Because I knew where we wanted to land, I was able to go, okay, this is how we're going to get there. Now we're
Right.
going to get there this way.
Right.
Because I took the time to already know, and we already knew, hey, this is where we're landing this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, okay, you want to go a whole different route.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
what you just said, we're going a whole different route, but we're still going to the same place.
Right.
We're still
Right.
going there. It
Mm-hmm.
may bend and change some. I will tell you, surprises do happen.
Yes.
I like to, for me, the whole thing of setting the topic, it lets me know that, okay, if I'm setting this topic, if I'm setting where we're ending, then I need to come up with a title.
Yeah. Yeah.
That title will change if everything shifts.
Yeah.
But because it's going to be blaring at you at the end, you'll go, I'm reading this, but it's not lining up.
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
going to have to pivot and make another change. So how
Mm-hmm.
do you, in setting that topic that you're going to do, how do you route it to there? How do you maneuver to get to there? How do you make that plan?
Yeah. So for me, like knowing what that topic is, and like you said, it could be through the title or just an agreed upon topic that is like, okay, we know we're going to talk about this, or knowing the direction that we're going to go. The topic is really the lens for doing that. So I like to be as specific with my topic as possible, because in being specific, it hones in that target or that focus even more, because it's not one of those things where it's like, okay, we just going way off of the rails and there's no real direction with it. Like the beautiful thing about my podcast, to bring back the love conversations, it was basically the same script for each person, but it was still that leaving room for the individual that really allowed for the story to be different, but the topic was the same. The topic, like for each episode, was love, romance, R&B, and how those things really shaped someone's personality, appreciation for music, um, how they are as an artist, all of the different things that make them who they are, and how they see the world through this lens of love, romance, and R&B. Everybody's experience is different, but it helps them, it guides them in a direction to know, like, okay, this is where the conversation is going to go.
Okay.
And so I find that when you have a specific lens and the topic kind of sort of brings that lens into focus,
Yeah.
something could be very much in focus and you see everything around you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you are the center point, or you are the subject at that particular point. So really honing in on that focus and using the topic to like tighten up that focus, I just really feel like it makes for better conversations, but it makes for more efficient conversation, because that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like when we get into this whole thing of content creation, we have to be mindful of the fact that we have people who are watching what we do, and they're taking time out of their busy day to actually consume it. And yes, we are serving a community, but we have to be mindful of the fact that we're serving a community of people who are parents, who are husbands and wives, people who have jobs, people who have entrepreneurial ventures that they are, dealing with, people who just live life. It ain't even got to be any of that. Like people would sometimes much rather watch this show or listen to this podcast. So it's like if you're trying to get them to focus on what it is that you're doing and actually get something from it, you got to be respectful of their time. And I bring up times very specifically because in this content creation era, people have very short attention spans. Let's just call it what it is. The attention span of the person in this era. I'll never forget my humanities teacher. I want to say in the 10th grade, she used to tell us how a lot of times people back in the day could listen to a person give a speech for 2 hours and be perfectly fine, be perfectly content, and be attentive. And then come to the person who gave the speech afterwards and ask questions based on what was said. And their patience was good. They were locked into whatever was being said. Now you got 5 seconds, Slim, 10 seconds at most to get somebody's attention. And if they're going to keep hanging on to whatever it is that you got to be respectful of their time. And you have to be able to say, okay, I am a 15-minute show. I'm a half-hour show. I'm a 45-minute show. I'm an hour show. So if I'm going to stick to this particular amount of time, I got to make sure I nail it in that amount of time.
For
So,
that nail it in that amount of time, what's most important to me is it has to be a plan. So like for us, there's an outline. We have
mm-hmm,
an outline. We already know, okay, there are two of us, so we both can't do everything at the same time. It makes no sense. So
right.
we actually orchestrate and plan how things are to be done so that both of our perspectives and our experience gets to speak on this one platform. And
Yeah.
the way we do that outline is we plan it. We plan,
Mm-hmm,
okay, so the opening is here. We need to try and stay within this gap of time
yeah.
for the opening. Okay, we want to set up the episode. We want people to understand what's being said in this episode, what's going to be shared. By the end, what is it that I'm going to receive from spending time with this episode? And then we like
Mm-hmm,
to share a little bit of our personality and tell you about the pro of our platform. And then we move right into just setting the stage for what we're going to unpack in this episode. For us, it's usually done in 3 segments. Even in this
mm-hmm,
episode, we did the topic, the target, and Joe just hit the time.
mm-hmm,
So we've done those things, and then we kind of wrap it up nice, and then we go with our outro. Now, for he was just mentioning time, time is very important. But how
mm-hmm,
can you tell if the content you created, the episode you just did for me, how I could tell? Let me say, how I
mm-hmm.
could tell if my episode actually landed If it
Hmm.
actually gave impact, if I actually planned it out well, is if when I went to go and create clips, because not everybody, as Joe was just expounding on, not everybody can do the long content. I said
Yeah.
all of that to talk about how not everybody can do the long content.
Hmm.
Some people can only our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter with all of the social media platforms.
Yes.
It's just becoming that way.
Yeah.
So I would play back my episodes to make content, and I would come away with a clip out of 45 minutes to an hour. There was only one short clip.
Mm, mm. Oh, that's a great illustration.
That's when you
Yeah.
start to know, wait a minute, so was I just
Yeah.
rambling?
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah.
not land anything that I talked
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Did I not actually make a point out of anything that I shared or
Hmm.
anything that my guest shared?
Yeah.
I realized something about myself. So I'll just say it just so you'll watch out for it for yourself.
Hmm.
For me, I realized I wasn't talking in complete sentences.
Mm.
I
Let's
was
hear
not
that.
explaining everything full out, meaning I already knew most of the information. So I
Hmm.
was speaking in fragments
Mm.
because I already knew the full story in my mind.
Yeah.
So then I had to start to learn to go, okay, Marion, you're going to need to give the A to Z of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then I had to learn how to make that A to Z much shorter.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
I had to literally not go A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. I had to
Yeah.
be able to go A dash Z.
Right.
You
Right.
had to learn how to get there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
until you actually start putting your ideas to a recording, audio, visual, I would say do audio and visual. If you just
Hmm.
want to release the audio, that's fine. But then you'll have the visual part of it. So you can clip it up and put content on your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, your X, whatever it is you choose to use, your LinkedIn, whatever it is you choose to use, you'll be able to do that. You may even just want to clip it to make a commercial or for advertisement for an offer that you're making. But then you also have that visual. So I would say do both,
Yeah.
but make a plan.
Yeah.
Make a plan. Set your destination,
Hmm.
just like GPS.
That's right.
Set your destination and then plan your route to get to that destination and set your time frame.
Hmm.
This is how much time. This is the block of space that I want to be able to get this point across.
Yes.
When you record, if you're recording, record a little over. Uh, it's okay that you go 10 minutes, 5 minutes over because you'll be able to go in and say, let me edit this out. Let me
Hmm.
edit this out. And
Yep.
guess what I edit out? Exactly what we're talking about, the rambling,
Yes.
the
Yes.
extra.
Yeah.
Anything that I feel like it's going to make eyes start to wander and go to your phone and start scrolling and not
Hmm.
paying attention to anything
Yeah.
that we're sharing.
Yeah.
So that's where when you actually start to do content, you'll start to realize you're doing it. But it's so easy
Yeah.
to sit back and watch someone else's content and go, "What?
Hmm.
Why? This is not this is not interesting. This isn't
Hmm.
they're not expounding on anything. They're not what they just shared was useless.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. And
Start
there's
your own
nothing worse than
project.
that. Yeah.
Start your own experience. Start your
Yeah.
own journey.
Hmm.
And pay attention. That is something to pay attention, especially if it's easy for you to see it in someone else.
Yeah. Yes.
Hopefully, it's that easy for you to see in yourself.
There it is. There it is. I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
My goodness, Joe, are there any specific takeaways you would like to highlight from this episode?
I would definitely say when it comes to setting that destination, I like the GPS illustration. I love that because you can't go anywhere if you don't know where you're going. And it's really that simple. You can't go anywhere. You're not even going to move until you know exactly where you're going. So I think when it comes down to setting that target, setting that destination, you have to be very specific with, I want to go here. And in order to go here, then I love like the whole thing of the topic is the means to get to that destination. I love that way of putting it because it's a means, the topic is the means to an end. And then when it comes to the time, if you notice in the GPS, it tells you how much time it's going to take if you take this route, if you take that route, or if you take that route. You'll often have a multitude of routes that you can take. Some of those routes free and clear. Some of those routes have traffic. Some of those routes, you're going to hit a lot of lights. But it's a matter of, okay, sometimes it doesn't matter the route that you take as long as you get to that destination. And sometimes it might take a little longer. Sometimes it might take a little shorter. But when you start with that target in mind, you already know, okay, if I go to this destination, I use my topic as this means to get to that destination, then it's probably going to take this amount of time. Plan it out. Plan it out. If you want to perform well, make sure you do the proper planning in advance so that your content lands. You land that plane because that's the most important thing. Ain't nothing worse than flying overhead and you still ain't landed that plane yet. Land that plane. It's all right. It's all right. Find that little path where you can land that plane very well. You ain't got to fly over and be worrisome about the fact that you don't know where you're going to land, don't know how soft you're going to land, don't know if you're going to blow out a tire when you land, but land it. But if you already planned it out in advance, you already know everything it takes to land that plane safe and sound. And everybody can walk off saying, that was the best flight I ever been on in my entire life.
Well, I got to go back. I got to go
Go ahead.
back because
Go
you
ahead.
literally, on the GPS aspect of it, you said the route.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you so many different, after you put the address in, the location of where you're going, the destination, where you're going
Yeah.
in, there are so many routes that you can take. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, some of them are quick, short, straight, cool, we here.
Yeah.
Some of them do have obstacles. So
Mm-hmm.
guess what? It doesn't mean that you can't use that as a direction for you to go with your
Yeah.
topics, which are your subtitles to get you. First we're going to go here, and then we're going to this topic, and we're going to go to this topic, and these topics lead us right to our destination.
Mm-hmm.
If you find that there's a lot to talk about, guess what you have segments, you have series, you
Mm-hmm.
have different episodes, you have so much content that you could create on that avenue, that different path that has so much information along the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't mean, oh well, I can't talk about it this way because it's going to exceed the time parameters that I've put on my episode. No, you
Mm-hmm.
can talk about it that way, but
Yeah.
maybe that's a 2 episode topic.
Yep.
Maybe that's a 3 episode. It's a series. You get to do more with it than
Mm-hmm.
just that, not just that, but only that one episode or segment. And I love that you were saying what you were saying about the destination, and that the other thing I love about what you were saying about the destination and that there's so many routes is because, baby, you can bring that same topic back up, but you can go
Mm-hmm.
another way to get to it.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Same
Absolutely.
topic, different way.
Mm-hmm.
Same topic, different way. So my best takeaway from this episode is, listen, K.I.S.S. Keep it sweet and simple.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh,
It's
yes.
don't and simple.
Hmm.
Don't try and use words you can't use. I have to. This is me talking to me. Don't try and use words you're not surely sure of the definition of.
Right.
Don't do too much. Don't go and talk about things that you don't have experience or knowledge with. You haven't put in the time with to be able to expound on with accuracy or
Hmm.
with clarity.
Yeah.
There's just some things, it's just telling somebody, if somebody's about to step off the curb into traffic, oncoming traffic, but they're looking at their phone and they're not paying attention, it is not the time for you to eloquently go, "Pardon me, kind sir. Don't mean to bother you, but would you?" Boom. All the horns going because you just got it. It would have been so much easier just to go, "Stop." It would have been so much easier just to yell that one impactful statement. It saves lives. So
Hmm.
think about the things that you say, and the
Yeah.
things that you say just need to drive it right to your destination.
Yes.
Doesn't need
Yes.
to be long. It doesn't need to, you don't have to try and be someone that you're not. Just
Hmm.
do it in your time.
That's
I'm
right.
not saying don't improve because I constantly am working on myself. I watch
Same
different
here.
podcasts on different things that I want to grow and learn in. I read books. I listen to audio books. It whatever way I need to receive it in that moment, in that
Hmm.
time. But I'm constantly on my growth journey. It's something that never ever fails. So, Joe, tell the people how they can reach us.
Well, the people, y'all can reach us. Y'all can reach us on Instagram. We are at I am a podcast pro. We are also on Facebook. I am a podcast pro with Marion and Joe. We are a Facebook group. Join the community. Make sure that y'all tap in with us. And if you are here, guess what? You already should be subscribed. But if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Little subscribe button ain't never hurt nobody. Hit that joint. Hit the bell notification. So whenever we go live, post new content, no matter what that content is, it could be a short, it could be a full, long form content, whatever it might be, you'll be among the first to know. If you got value out of this episode, don't just like, don't just comment. Spread the wealth, spread the love. We love when y'all spread the love. Share it with somebody who y'all feel like will get something out of this episode, get something out of this information, because we are for the community at the end of the day. And if you have any ideas for topics that you would like for us to talk about, or if you have questions directly for us and you don't necessarily want it in an episode, but you just want us to just answer the question. Look, we got an email address. I am a podcast pro at gmail.com. And man, what
Yes,
can
sir.
they do in those comments when it comes to their podcast? What you want? What you want them to do?
In the comments, it would be great if you shared your platform so that we can check each other out. We're in this together. This is really a community that shares and cares and takes care of each other and would love to grow from each other's experience and wealth of knowledge. I guess that's it. Have we landed this plane?
I think we landed the plane.
There
I
we
think
go.
yes.
There we go. So we'll see you next time. Have a great one. You got this.